George Spanky McFarland was never the same after Our Gang ended. George Spanky McFarland, born on October 2, 1928, in Dallas, Texas, was a beloved child actor whose face and personality became iconic in American pop culture, particularly during the Great Depression era. He rose to fame as one of the main cast members of the Our Gang series, also known as The Little Rascals, which followed the antics of a group of neighborhood kids. The series charmed audiences with its humorous yet heartwarming depiction of childhood, and Spanky's unforgettable performances made him a household name during the 1930s and beyond. McFarland's entrance into the entertainment world came early in life. He was just 3 years old when he was cast in Our Gang. His mother had sent pictures of her son to a talent agency, and soon enough, Hollywood came calling. With his chubby cheeks, tousled hair, and quick-witted demeanor, Spanky quickly became a fan favorite. His ability to deliver deadpan humor and charm the audience with his mischievous grin made him stand out, even among the other talented child actors in the series. His nickname Spanky was reportedly derived from his mother, who referred to him as her little spanker, though the name came to symbolize his cheeky personality on screen. Spanky's most famous role within Our Gang was as the group's de facto leader, where he acted as the ringleader of their whimsical adventures. He portrayed an adorable mix of youthful innocence and clever wisdom that resonated with Depression-era audiences, who saw in him a reminder of simpler times and the resilience of childhood. His comedic timing was impeccable, and many of his lines and facial expressions are still quoted and mimicked by fans to this day. Spanky's charm was his relatability. He was every kid, caught up in the excitement of friendship, loyalty, and adventure. As a central figure in the series from 1932 until 1942, Spanky McFarland starred in over 95 short films, many of which are still considered classics of early American cinema. Some of the most memorable episodes include The Kid from Borneo, Hi Neighbor, and Freewheeling, which exemplified the series' mix of humor, sentimentality, and even social commentary. The Our Gang series is often credited with breaking down racial barriers in early film, as it featured an integrated cast during a time when segregation was prevalent in much of the United States. Spanky's interactions with fellow cast members, including black actor Billy Buckwheat Thomas, were free of the racial stereotypes that plagued much of the entertainment industry, making the series groundbreaking for its era. George Spanky McFarland, best known for his role as the mischievous and lovable leader of the Our Gang, also known as the Little Rascals comedy shorts, experienced a profound change in his life after the series ended. Spanky, who had been one of the most popular child stars of the 1930s and early 1940s, found it difficult to transition out of the shadow of his iconic character. His early fame, which had been a source of joy and opportunity, became a double-edged sword as he struggled to adapt to life beyond the series. Spanky's time in Our Gang was a whirlwind of success, which began when he was just 3 years old. His expressive face, quick wit, and natural comedic timing made him a standout in the series. Spanky's leadership in the gang became central to many of the plotlines, and he quickly became a household name. At the height of his career, McFarland was beloved by audiences around the world. However, child stardom, particularly in the golden age of Hollywood, often came with limited foresight about what life would hold after the spotlight dimmed. For Spanky, that transition was especially difficult. When Our Gang ended in 1944, McFarland was left in an awkward position. He was no longer the adorable child star that audiences once knew, but Hollywood had difficulty finding roles for him as an adolescent. Typecasting was a common issue for child actors of that era, and McFarland found himself stuck in the public's perception as Spanky, the precocious little boy, long after he had outgrown the role. The entertainment industry, which had embraced him as a young star, seemed to have no room for him as a teenager and young adult. Offers for serious or age-appropriate roles were scarce, and Spanky soon discovered that the fame which had brought him so much success had also pigeonholed him. The lack of new opportunities in acting led to a period of personal frustration for McFarland. He attempted to find work outside of show business, but the drastic change from his life as a child star to that of an ordinary person was jarring. He held various jobs, including work in sales and as a nightclub greeter, none of which gave him the satisfaction or purpose he had once felt as an entertainer. For someone who had been accustomed to the adoration of fans and the excitement of the film set from such a young age, this period of his life was marked by disappointment and uncertainty. McFarland was vocal about the fact that he often felt forgotten by the same industry that had once celebrated him. McFarland's attempts to reinvent himself and distance his identity from that of Spanky were met with mixed success. While he eventually found some stability working in a variety of roles, including television hosting and running his own business ventures, he could never entirely shake the character that had defined his childhood. Spanky had become more than just a role, it was an identity that followed him everywhere. When he tried to branch out into other aspects of entertainment, such as directing or producing, he found that the industry still largely saw him as the chubby cheeked boy from Our Gang. Despite these challenges, McFarland remained proud of his contributions to Our Gang and the legacy of the series. Later in life, he embraced his past, participating in fan conventions and interviews where he reflected on his time in the series. Yet, there was always a sense of bittersweetness in his recollections. While he cherished the memories of his early fame, it was clear that he never truly escaped the long shadow cast by his iconic role. McFarland's post-Our Gang years were also marked by mental and emotional struggles. The stark contrast between his life as a famous child actor and his adulthood in relative obscurity weighed heavily on him. Like many child stars, McFarland faced the psychological toll of early fame. Feelings of inadequacy, a lack of direction, and even bouts of depression were challenges he confronted as he tried to navigate a world that had changed so drastically since his time in the spotlight. The fame and fortune that had once seemed like a dream turned out to be difficult to reconcile with the more mundane realities of adult life. In the 1970s and 1980s, McFarland began to re-embrace his past, appearing at Our Gang reunions and granting interviews that paid tribute to the legacy of the series. By this time, nostalgia for classic Hollywood had begun to grow, and McFarland found himself once again in the public eye, albeit in a different capacity. Fans of The Little Rascals celebrated him for the joy he had brought to their childhoods, and McFarland seemed to make peace with the fact that Spanky was forever a part of his life. While he had long ago given up on becoming a leading man or breaking into adult roles in Hollywood, McFarland was able to find fulfillment in his late years by reconnecting with fans and embracing his status as a pop culture icon. As an adult, Spanky McFarland remained proud of his Our Gang days, often saying how lucky he felt to have been a part of something so special and lasting. He was a frequent guest at nostalgia conventions, interviews, and public events that commemorated the legacy of the Little Rascals. He continued to be a source of joy for those who remembered the early days of Hollywood and the charm of the Our Gang series. He embraced his place in Hollywood history and understood the lasting impact of his work, particularly on the childhood memories of millions of fans worldwide. On June 30, 1993, Spanky McFarland passed away from a heart attack at the age of 64, leaving behind a legacy that continues to endure. Although his time as a major star was brief in the grand scheme of Hollywood, his influence on American entertainment is undeniable. His work in the Our Gang comedies remains a crucial part of cinematic history, not only because of its humor and appeal but because it reflected important social changes taking place in America during the early 20th century. In tribute, fans remember Spanky McFarland not just as the funny, lovable boy who led the Little Rascals but also as a symbol of resilience. His early fame may have waned as he grew older, but his ability to find peace and pride in his contributions to film, and his warm connection with fans in his later years, speaks to the character of the man behind the beloved child star. Today, Spanky remains a nostalgic icon, a reminder of a simpler, more innocent time in American film, when a little boy with a big personality could capture the hearts of millions with just a grin. His work continues to inspire not only for its humor but for its representation of childhood at its most authentic, pure, and joyful.